In this exercise, we're going to see how to pass information from a form to a Java servlet using a GET request. So we'll start out by looking at the servlet code. I've already written it in, so we'll just go over it for a moment, then we'll configure everything and then run the program along with our HTML page. So we start off with our imports, java.io.star, javax.servlet.star, and for this program, javax.servlet.http.star, because we're going to be extending a different servlet class. In fact, we're going to see that class right now in the next line. So our program is called Retrieve Fields Servlet, and it extends the HTTP servlet class because we need a particular method for our program. And that method is called doGet, because that's what we're doing. We're doing a GET request as opposed to, say, a POST request, which we're going to look at in the next exercise. Our two parameters are a HTTP servlet request object called request and an HTTP servlet response object called response. And we throw IO exception and servlet exceptions as the exception objects. So the first thing we do is we set the content type for our response object to be HTML, so we write text/HTML. We instantiate a PrintWriter object so that we can write data to our screen or to our page. Then at that point, we're ready to retrieve data. So to retrieve data, we call the getParameter method on our request object with the name of a field from our form. So what we're going to do right now is go back and get to our form. Take a look at it real quick. Here's our form. It's very simple. The most important thing to understand is that in our action attribute in the form tag, we have a call to our servlet. So it's localhost, same thing as 127.0.0.1, port 8080, examples, servlets, servlet, retrieve field servlet. So when we submit this data, it will load that program, our retrieve fields servlet. The fields for our form are full name, address, city, state, zip, and then we have a submit button as well as a clear button, which is not implemented. So going back to our Java program, we get each parameter or get the data that's stored in each parameter when the request is happening and store it in a string variable. So full name, address, city, state, and zip all get stored in string variables, and then we turn around in the last part of the program, write that data back out to a new web page. Again, that's just for demonstration purposes. And then we close our writer and we're finished with the program. So our next step would be to compile that. So let's go back to our Java directory and begin the process of compiling. We have to set the class path attribute. And it's C:\tomcat\Apache tomcat-7.0.29 /lib/servlet API.jar, close quote. And there's our compile. Then the next step is to copy the class file to the appropriate subdirectory. So we're going to copy retrieve field servlet.class to C:\tomcat\Apache tomcat web apps examples webinf/classes. I've already tested this, so we'll say yes and copy it. The next step then is to go into our XML file . And then we scroll down to the servlet tags, create a pair of servlet tags, servlet name tag, retrieve field servlet, and a servlet class, retrieve field servlet. This is exactly how we did it with the Hello World servlet example. In fact, those tags are right below. Then we move down to servlet mapping and create a pair of tags, servlet name and URL pattern, Make sure you get that order correct. Then when you're done, exit and save. I haven't changed anything, so it's saved. Then start Tomcat. I already have Tomcat started. I'll just remind you how to do that if you've forgotten. Startup.bat. And also should probably mention that to shut it down, when you're finished with your examples, you just run shutdown.bat, also from the bin. Now the next step is to load the form and test our program. So I'm going to open that file. There it is, I believe. Yes, that's it. And then we hit submit. And there's our data. Full name John Doe, address 1 Main Street, city Anytown, state AS, zip code 11111. So that's how you create a servlet to retrieve data using a GET request. Now we're ready to move on to the next exercise where we're going to use a POST request instead, and we'll use a little bit different form also.